Hello, everybody. Welcome back to my channel. And today I am actually pretty damn excited because I am bringing back a series that I started all the way back when my channel was still preferably new. I mean, my channel still isn't old, but it was all the way back when my channel just started. And it's a series called How I Would Have Written. I'm sure you would have guessed that just by the title alone. And if you want a bit of an explanation as to what the series actually is. Basically, uh, I take something from an already existing piece of entertainment, or specifically a certain element of it that I feel like was kind of either underwhelming or just really just badly written, and I give you sort of my take on how this. On how I would have written this that certain element specifically. Now, it could either be a character, or it could be an arc of an entire story, or it could, hell, if it's really bad, it could be the entire story itself. For example, it could be an entire movie, or it could be a certain act of a movie, like either the first act, second act, third act, or it could just be how a certain character was written in the story that I feel like was just, again, written poorly and I feel like desperately needs a rewrite. And in this instance specifically, we're going to be focusing on a character from Dragon Ball Super. Now, specifically, we are going to be focusing on Jiren. Yes, Jiren, who was not really the villain, but mostly the main antagonist of the very last arc of Dragon Ball Super, the Tournament of Power arc. But the part of Jiren's character that we're going to be focusing on specifically isn't going to be his entire, like how he was written during the Tournament of Power, but most specifically, we're going to be focusing on Jiren's backstory. Yes, we're going to be focusing on Jiren's on Jiren from the time he was a kid all the way to when he probably joined the Galactic, the Pride Troopers. Now, because for me, we got that in Dragon Ball Super episode. I think it was episode 129, where we first got a glimpse of Jiren's backstory. And to me, it's just. I already knew that because they were already rushing everything, that they weren't going to have the time to, actually properly flesh out Jiren's backstory. And not only that, but they gave him probably the most generic backstory that you could think of, like, oh, his parents died when he was a kid and now he's seeking out justice. Well, it's just, and again, look, a lot of people have already made the comparison, and rightfully so, to Batman, because yes, his backstory is a lot like Batman, to where he was a child. He saw his parents died because of some mysterious evil entity. We don't even know what it is, and and all of a sudden he left. He joined his master, whom, thanks to the manga, now we know his name is Gichin. I guess it's supposed to be a pun on the word kitchen. Okay, I get it, because Toriyama loves his puns, loves to name his characters. Um, Usually they're puns on on certain things, like, for example, mostly food, or if, like, the gods, he names them after certain types of alcohol. But anyway, that's not what anyway, we're not going to be focusing on the how bad it was, although that is part of the reason as to why I'm even doing this rewrite in the first place, because, like I said, if it wasn't bad or underwhelming, then I wouldn't even be doing this. So let's get to the actual, how I would have written part. So, like I said, it's going to be starting from Jiren's childhood all the way up until he joined the Pride Troopers. So, the way I would have written it is this. First of all, let's start off with Jiren as a kid. Now, look, in order to explain why I came up with this story for Jiren as a kid specifically, we need to look at who Jiren is as an adult. Now, we know that Jiren is an exceptionally powerful individual. We know that. In fact, Whis himself even stated that he's even stronger than his universe's god of destruction. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that he's stronger than all of the gods of destruction, because not all of the gods of destruction are on the same level of power. Some are stronger than others. And if you read the manga, then you will have seen the god of destruction preliminary tournament arc, which, I'm not gonna lie, I do kind of wish we saw it in the anime. Instead, we got the 3 round mini tournament with Goku, Gohan, and Boo versus the Universe Nine's the Wolf Trio. And from that tournament, we know that like each not every god of destruction is equally on par with each other. Each of them are on their own level. So just because Jiren is stronger than his universal god of destruction, which you can see him right there on screen, that doesn't necessarily mean he's stronger than the others. But still, the fact that he's stronger than his universe's god of destruction, still, that says something, at least in terms of combat strength. So when you say that, now look, the thing is, we don't know exactly how old Jiren is, although I think we can assume that he's fairly old. Like again, we don't know much about his race. We don't know like how long they can live. We don't know how long their average lifespan is. So for all we know, the guy could be thousands of years old. Maybe he's like hit to where he's over 1,000 years old, but he doesn't really look it. Anyway, I feel like, again, so that's something we do kind of have to take into consideration. But still, the fact that he's someone who can grow to a power that is stronger than a god of destruction still says to me that this guy probably from birth was born a prodigy. Now I know in Dragon Ball that isn't really saying much because we've already seen a multitude of prodigies throughout the series. I mean, Goku was a prodigy, Goten and Trunks are prodigies. Gohan was said to be an even bigger prodigy than probably all of them, even though the series really likes to forget that fact a lot of times. Vegeta's a prodigy. Broly's probably a prodigy on the level of Gohan, because they said that he's pretty much a mutant or a freak in terms of, at least compared to other Saiyans, other Saiyan warriors. So anyway, but that to me still tells me, like, again, still it tells me that Jiren was probably a prodigy from birth. So the way I would have written it is this: why not have it why not have it to where Jiren from a young age showed a natural affinity for combat? Even though he was a kid, he was probably a happy-go-lucky kid. He was more than happy just living with his parents, probably working on what it seemed like. It looked like it was a farm or something. Like he was just happy, and maybe one day, something happened to where they probably got attacked by bandits or something, and then Jiren, who even though he was at such a young age and probably had no martial arts training whatsoever, had just a sudden rush of adrenaline, and it got so high to the point where his latent natural abilities when it comes to fighting probably kicked in, and he was able to fight off the bandits and chase them away. Not kill them, but chase them away. And he probably remembers what happens, but like I don't want it to be a lot like I don't want it to be a similar case with Gohan, like what we saw in early Z, to where he would always get angry and he would have this surge of power, but he would always forget what happens. Now I don't want it to be like that. Like I want Jiren still remembers what he did. He just, like, he can't remember exactly how he did. All he remembers is that in that moment he was so stressed and he was so afraid of what might happen to his parents, that his natural instincts just kicked in and he beat the shit out of those bandits and he sent them away. And obviously his parents are both proud, but at the same time they're kind of a little afraid that their son is this powerful. But what they don't know is that Gichin was watching and he was planning to interfere, but he saw what Jiren did, and then later, probably either the day after or maybe he waited a bit, to give the family some space as to to deal with what just happened. He approaches them and he tells them that he's a martial arts master. Like he owns his own school where he teaches people how to teach people to learn how to fight and harness their skills. And he tells them that he saw what Jiren did, and if you guys would like, if you guys are okay with it, if you're willing, I would like to take him under my wing and teach him how to, teach him how to control his skills. And obviously, initially they'd be a little cautious because this guy's a stranger. He just showed up out of nowhere. But then those same bandits come back, except this time they have more numbers. And Jiren, like, he wants to try and recreate what happens, but he's having trouble. He can't do it. And then that's when Gichin steps in and just takes them all out. And obviously he doesn't kill them, but he knocks them all out and probably turns them over to the authorities. And then after seeing this, their parents think that it's probably a smart idea to let their son go with him, even though they don't want to. They probably think it's a smart idea to let him go with him in order so that Jiren doesn't because in this situation, Jiren went up to them, facing them, thinking that he could do what he did before, except this time he nearly got himself killed because he doesn't have any control over it. And so they don't want him to be that reckless ever again. So they actually let him go with him, and that's how Jiren heads off with Gichin in order to train at his school. So, first of all, obviously the parents go with him just to make sure again 100%, that they're not like there's nothing going on, and that's where they see the school, they see all the other students, they see that they're very respectful to, especially to their masters, there, but they're especially respectful to newer students. Obviously they'll do what other usually students do. Yeah, they'll give the new guy a little bit of shit, but not to the point where they're that they're outright bullies, because I feel like this trope's already been done once. It was done once during the 21st martial arts tournament, with Krillin and the other monks. We've already did that once. I don't want to do that again. So instead, like, yeah, they give him shit, but not to the point where they're bullies, but it's just like, just regular students giving each other shit, like, oh, it's the new guy, let's mess with him a little bit. But they make sure it's clear that they're just having fun, that they've got nothing against him. And especially when they get into the ring for sparring matches, they're actually very respectful. They respect the rules of the dojo and all that. Like, no one steps out of line. So once they see everything's fine, that's when Jiren's parents look at him. They say, "Listen, you're going to be okay here, and we know we're proud of you for doing this." Because Jiren actually agrees to this, by the way. It's not that he's against this. He's actually okay with this because he wants to be stronger, because next time his parents are ever in danger, he wants to be able to do something. Like, he wants to be able to protect them. And that's sort of like, you see a little bit of a glimpse of him wanting to protect the weak. Like, he wants to protect people. And hence why, like, a little bit of a hint as to why in the future he ends up joining the Pride Troopers. So, Jiren joins his family, right? And at this point, like, this is when we see a few years go by. Jiren, he starts training more and more, and he starts getting better and better. He starts getting stronger, but but there's something interesting that happens during those years where Jiren is training with Gichin and the other students. Even as someone who's a lot younger than the other students, he starts like, the rate at which he's progressing is insane. Like, he goes from being a beginner to a, let's say, semi-professional within the time span of, let's say, a year or two. Whereas with the others, it took them probably a few years, like, let's say 3 to 4 years, before they can even get close to that level. Jiren's already at that level at such a young age. And while a lot of the students are obviously impressed at the fact that he could get this strong so quickly, it's also inevitable that there would be some students who are kind of like, they're a little bit resentful because they see someone and he's growing so quickly at such a quicker rate than than they did. So obviously there's going to be some resentment there, not to the point where they just outright hate him, but to the point where they are sort of putting some distance between them, because every time they're with him, even though they like the guy and they like hanging out with him and he's a good friend, they can't help feeling a little bit inadequate every time they're with him. I think you guys might be able to get what I mean by that. And Jiren over time starts to notice that more and more of the other students are starting to put a bit of a distance between them. Like, they're not as close as when he first started. So more years go by, and Jiren, like, he's obviously getting a hell of a lot better, and in no time he pretty much surpasses all of the other students, and he's still pretty young. And then Gichin shows up, and he tells Jiren, okay, you've reached the level to where now you can start having sparring matches with me. Now this takes the other students by shock, or this takes the other students by surprise, because even none of them have even gotten to the level of being able to get into sparring matches with Master Gichin, because he's always like held off on that because he feels like they're still not ready for that yet. But Jiren shows up, and he's gotten to the point where he's so good that he himself is ready for that. Now Jiren's obviously happy because it shows a sign of his growth, that he is getting better. And obviously, like, he's of the mindset that if his master is now telling him that you're now of the level of being able to train with me, like, it shows how much he respects him as a fighter, to where, yeah, you're on my level now, kid. And so, it's something like that. And anyway, and obviously he's like, it fills him with a little bit of pride. But right before the sparring match happens, Gichin tells him that, you know what, you've done so much work. You've done everything I asked you to do. You've been so disciplined. You've done all the exercise that I asked you to do. You've trained as hard as you've trained just as hard as anyone, and you've reached like such a level. And as a reward, I'm gonna give you a bit of a break, and we're gonna go back to your village, and we are going to visit your parents. We're going to visit your parents. You know, just something to give him as a bit of a reward, to for all of his hard work. And he does the same with his other students. So both of them, right as they're about to leave, he tells the oldest student, the oldest one out of the group, the one who's been with him the longest, to watch over the dojo, before they come back. And Jiren takes some time to say goodbye to everyone, and then the oldest one says, "Hey Jiren, when you're back, and after you're done sparring with Master Gichin, why don't you and I step in the ring for a bit? Because I'd like for us to finally get to fight, to finally see which one of us is really the best, even though he on a level knows that Jiren's already gotten better than him." Jiren proudly accepts. He said, "Yeah, sure, the second I get back and the second I'm done sparring with Master Gichin, you and I, we're going to go at it." So they leave, and they go back to Jiren's village, and they're right as they're getting there, they start to sense that there's something wrong, like something isn't right. Jiren starts to feel this the most. Gichin tries to tell him that, okay, listen, wait here, let me go check what's going on. But Jiren didn't listen because he's worried about his parents. So he just instantly rushes off. Gichin tries to catch him, and he tries to run after him, but he noticed that Jiren is like, he's not holding back at this moment. He's going at it full speed, and he realizes he can't catch up with him. Like, he realizes that he's gotten to a level to where now he's even faster than he is, and but not by much. So Jiren makes it, and then Gichin shortly arrives right after him, and both of them notice, and Jiren, with a look of shock in his face, notices that his entire village has been it's been burnt to the ground. It's been reduced to ashes, and he instantly makes a beeline straight for his straight for his house. And then he notices that the entire house is burnt to the ground, and he's worried because he thinks that he believes that his parents are dead, sort of in a way like what Luke Skywalker did in A New Hope, like when he makes it home, but then he sees his house, and then he sees the skeletons of his aunt and uncle, Owen and Baru, and he sees them dead. However, in this situation, Jiren breaks down, and he's crying because not only is his village, but his parents are gone, and his home has been burned to the ground. However, Gichin shows up, and he takes a closer look. He tries to keep himself together to stay, to stay strong for Jiren, but he takes a closer look at what happened, and he realizes that there are no corpses. Like there are no signs of any corpses burned to the ground. So he tells Jiren this, and he tells them that it's possible that none of the villagers died, that it's possible they've just been taken somewhere, and that gives Jiren a little bit of hope as to the fact that his parents might still be alive. So he quickly begs Gichin to let's go after them. Let's go. And Gichin tells him that no, maybe we should take it easier, because, and Jiren starts to notice that Gichin, like, he knows something about what's going on here that he's not telling Jiren. And then Jiren tries to inquire as to what's going on, but Gichin isn't saying anything. Like, he's not telling him anything, but he does have a look of concern on his face. Okay, he knows who did this, but he doesn't tell Jiren what it is. All he says is, "Come on, we have to go." And then he takes away Jiren, and Jiren keeps begging with him again and again, "Come on, let's go before something bad happens to my parents." And he just tells him, "Don't worry, nothing's gonna happen to them. They'll still be alive by the time we find him. But by the time we find them." And then Jiren keeps asking him, like, "Okay, wait, how do you know this? Okay, how do you know all this?" And Gichin just doesn't. He doesn't say anything. He still chooses to keep it quiet and to himself. And then all he says is, "Come on, we need to continue your training." And then instead of going to the dojo where they are, instead he takes them somewhere else that's a lot more secluded and away from any civilization, because Gichin tells him, "All right, listen, I can't take it easy anymore. Okay, I need to teach you everything I know. From now on, and we're gonna do nothing but sparring. And while we're sparring, I'm gonna teach you everything I know. And by the way, while we're sparring, I'm not gonna be holding back. Okay, I'm gonna be going all out, and I expect you to do the same. Okay. And by the way, I need you to come at me like you're about to kill me." Jiren obviously tells him, like, "I can't do that because you're my teacher. I don't want to kill you." And he says, "Don't worry about it." He says, "Don't worry about that. No, you need to come at me like you're about to kill me. Okay, you need to do that." Okay, and Jiren says reluctantly he doesn't want to, but he says, "Okay, if that's what you want." And then they start fighting, and it's an intense fight. Like, they are both throwing blows that would actually kill someone. Both of them are barely dodging each other's hits and each other's blasts, because they know if they get hit with this, then that's it. It's game over. But still, they continue. They keep fighting, and then cut to about a month later, and both of them are exhausted. And then Gichin tells them, "All right, that's it. We're done." And then Jiren tells him, "What do you mean we're done?" And he says, "Let's go for one more match. And this time, remember, come at me like you're about to kill me." And then Jiren now, after a month of nothing but sparring with Gichin, has pretty much memorized his moves. Like, he knows how the guy moves. He knows how he's going to attack. He knows how he's going to defend. He knows how he's going to counterattack. He already knows him inside and out. So this time the fight only lasts for a minute, and it ends right as Jiren's about to, like, deal the death blow. Gichin instantly yells stop, and then Jiren stops right before he's about to connect. And then he tells him, like, "That attack would have actually killed me." And then Jiren says, "Yeah, I know. Why didn't you dodge?" And then Gichin tells him, "I couldn't. Your strike was too quickly. If you hadn't reacted in time, I actually would be dead right now." And he says, "Good, because it means you're ready." And he says, "Ready for what?" And he tells him, we're about to go get your village. We're about to go get your family back." And he tells him, "Okay, look, I know you know something. What the hell's going on?" And Gichin tells him, "I know who did that to your village. I know who took your parents and the rest of the people of the rest of your people." And he says, "It's a guy that I remember I fought him a long time ago, and at first I didn't want to fight him, but he coerced me into fighting him, because he said that if I didn't fight him, I will go and I will murder everyone you care about." But he still told him no. He still refused him because he didn't want to cave into his threats, and he ignored him, thinking that nothing bad was going to happen. And then, surprise, surprise, he tries to go home, and everyone he knows is dead. And he notices that the way his village was killed, the way it was burned, he says is the exact same way that Jiren's village was burned. So he surmised that it's the same guy. And then Jiren tells him, "Well, wait a minute. You said that he killed everyone in your village. Like, why then? How come the people in my village and my parents are still left alive?" And he told him because when he killed everyone I know and he killed my family, he pretty much, like, he killed any advantage he had. Like, right now I had no reason to fight him other than revenge, and I knew that if I went into that fight wanting nothing but revenge and that mindset, then I'll end up doing something that I regret, because he didn't want to do that. So instead he just left and he just walked away. He never saw the guy again until he saw Jiren's village, and he knew it was the same guy, except this time he didn't kill the villagers or Jiren's parents, because he wants to use them as leverage now. He learned from the last time. So he tells him, "All right, we're about to go get him, and listen, you remember what I just told you. This guy killed everyone I know in order to get to me. He will do the exact same thing to you. He probably heard about he probably heard about you. He probably heard about how strong you are, and he probably wants to fight you because this guy because this guy wants to assert his dominance. He wants to fight the best of the best of the best to prove that there's no one above him. And unfortunately, he takes it a bit too far. And yeah, I know that's technically not really original, but this guy is like he's insane. So Jiren goes with Gichin in order to meet with this guy, and they find him. And Jiren, while he's there, he asks him, "Okay, listen, where are my parents? Where are my villages?" And he just tells them, "You'll get them back after you and I fight. After I beat the shit out of you and proven that even someone like you, even someone with as much natural talent for fighting as you, isn't better than me." And Jiren is still getting pissed because this guy, because he wanted a fight, he kidnapped my parents, he kidnapped my villagers, and is threatening their lives all because he wanted a fight with him when he could have just asked. But apparently that's not how the guy does things. And then Jiren is steadily getting pissed, but Gichin tells him, he reminds him, "Listen, do not fall for this guy's games, okay? And also remember, you can't fight with anger because when you do that, you start to lose focus and you don't fight as well as you do," which also ties into what happened in the Tournament of Power when he fought Goku when he started getting more and more pissed. Remember, he wasn't fighting as well as he used to when he was calm and collected. He started to lose his shit, and that's what happened. Well, Goku was also in MUI, which gave him an advantage, but remember, even before Goku got the advantage, Jiren was still doing pretty damn good, even against MUI. Okay, back to the backstory. So him and Jiren start fighting, and at first the guy initially has the upper hand because Jiren, like, he's fighting this guy and he realizes that never he's never really fought someone like him. Like, the moves that he's using are kind of unorthodox. Like, there's no real reason behind them. Like, it's almost like he's fighting purely off instinct. And yes, I use that word on purpose. And he starts fighting the guy, but then slowly but surely he starts to get a feel for how this guy moves, and he starts to get more and more leverage, and the guy is starting to get worried because, like, his attacks aren't connecting as well as they used to. Excuse me. Not to mention, he's not, like, Jiren is starting to connect more and more of his attacks, and his aren't connecting as well as they used to. They were back at the beginning of the fight. And then Jiren just completely takes control. Like, right now, he is in full control of the fight. This guy he's starting to lose, but more importantly, he's starting to get angry. He's starting to get desperate. So now he's just throwing moves out of nowhere. It's not even on instinct anymore. Now he's just rash. He's not in control anymore, and Jiren isn't even sweating this guy anymore. Like, he's not even worried. He's just dodging attacks like it's easy. He's connecting with his own attacks, and then he throws, right at the end of the fight, he just slams him to the ground, and this guy he's exhausted, he's out, and Jiren is just standing over him like he's nothing. He's won, it's over. So now he tells him, "Listen, I've won, you've lost. Where are my parents? Okay, where are my people?" And he tells him, no. No, it's not that easy. It's this fight isn't over until one of us is dead. Like, he's basically proving to be one of those people. And then Jiren tells him, "Listen, there's no need for either of us to die. Okay, look, just give me what I want. Okay, I already kicked your ass. What more do you want?" And he tells him, no, like I said, you haven't won until I am dead. Until either of us is dead, this fight ain't over. And then he tries to attack Jiren again, but this time Jiren just easily brushes it off because, again, he's already got a feel for this guy's moves. Nothing he can do is going to, nothing he does is going to affect him. But then, Jiren notices this guy preparing a key attack, and he fires it at him. And then Jiren just dodges it like it's nothing, and then he tells him, "Okay, so are you finally done?" And then he says, "Yeah, I'm done." And he says, I want you to turn around and look at where that blast is headed." And Jiren turns around and he notices that the blast is still continuing. And then it lands, and then there's an explosion. And then Jiren, like he's wondering, like, oh, wait, why is he pointing over? Why did he specifically direct my attention towards that blast? And then he thinks, oh no, he's distracting him. And then he instantly turns around as quick as he could and puts his guard up. But then he realizes nothing happened, and he's still standing in the same spot, and he's still smiling. And then he's wondering, like, what's going on. Like, he just has this weird grin on his face, like he just did something, like he just has the upper hand. And then slowly Jiren pieces it together, and then he has this horrified look on his face. And then he turns around to see where the explosion landed, and then he turns around and looks at the guy. And then he says, well, you said you wanted me to tell you where your parents were. There they are. And then he realizes what he did. That blast was never intended for Jiren. Like, he intentionally aimed that blast at his parents and his village and the people of his village. And then Jiren is horrified, and then Gichin realizes what happens, and he tries to calm Jiren down. He tries to tell him, because he notices that Jiren is starting to lose it. And then Jiren prepares a blast. He prepares a key attack in his hand, and he basically pulls off. You know what he does? He pulls off the same move that he did against Vegeta in episode. I think it was 120. No, not 128. I think it was. Yeah, I think it was 128, right? Yeah, where he basically has his hand in front of him, and he basically envelops him in this energy. Except, unlike with Vegeta, where it just knocked him out, this blast completely disintegrates him. Like, that guy is dead. It's over. He's nothing but a pile of ash now. He's over, and Jiren just has this evil look on his face. And then Gichin is looking at him like he's horrified that Jiren did this. But then something happens. And then Gichin, he tries to, because Gichin he disappeared for a little bit of the fight. He disappeared for a little, throughout the entire fight, and only showed up close to the end. And then Jiren asks him, like, where were you? And then he points him towards the top of the mountain. And then he looks up, and Jiren notices his parents and his village people are there. And Jiren at first is elated because thank God they're alive. But then that feeling instantly turns to like the smile that he had on his face is quickly gone, because he looks at his parents' face and he sees that they're horrified, because he knows that they saw what Jiren did, how he killed the guy like it was nothing. And then Gichin tries to tell him, God damn it, like I tried to warn you. I tried to warn you to keep yourself in check. I tried to warn you to control your emotions, and because this is what happens. This is why he didn't go into that fight when he was still angry, because he knew that he would do something he regrets. And then Jiren is so mortified by what happened, instead of going back with Gichin to the dojo, or going to even going to check on his parents, he just instantly bolts out of there. He instantly leaves, and he never went back ever again. So we cut to Jiren, and it's been a couple of months since that moment, and Jiren is still on his own. He's still out there. He's wandering from city to city, and he's just doing nothing. But eventually he gets to one city where it's being attacked by a monster, and right before Jiren steps in, he notices that there's a guy fighting that monster in order to help people, because he saw that there were people in danger. He starts fighting the guy, but he's having a little bit of trouble, and then Jiren from behind fires a blast of energy, and the monster dies. And then the guy looks back, and he saw Jiren doing that, and he walks up to him, and then Jiren says, yeah, I know. Look, don't worry, I'm leaving. And then he puts his hands on his shoulder and says, no, that was impressive, what you just did. Like, you just saved these people. And then Jiren takes off. Jiren looks at him, and he says, wait, you're actually happy that I did this? And he says, of course I am. Like, these people, the people of this city are safe now because of you. And he asks him, like, okay, what's your name? And he says, my name is Jiren. And he says, "Well, Jiren, how would you like to join my group?" And then he says, "What group?" And he says, "We're a group called the Pride Troopers. We basically travel around the universe to help anyone in need." And basically at first he's reluctant because he thinks that it's probably better if they don't have someone like him with him, and he tries to decline, but a lot of the others people of the city are thanking Jiren, saying, "Hey, listen, we appreciate what you did. Thank you so much. That monster's been bothering us for a while, and you just saved us." And he is happy, and he starts to think, okay, maybe this is a way that I can kind of redeem myself. Like maybe this is a way for me to to start actually using my abilities for good. And then he tells him, "Okay, I'll join you." But first he asks him what's his name, and he says, "Well, my name is Topo." And then he gestures behind him and says, "This is and we're the Pride Troopers." And then behind him he sees the rest of the Pride Troopers, whose names are kind of escaping me now. I'm sorry, especially the rabbit guy. I should know what that guy's name is. But anyway, he says, "Yeah, this is the rest of the Pride Troopers, and this is and that's going to be it. That's going to be the ending of Jiren's backstory. That's how he went from being a kid all the way to being in the Pride Troopers. Now, there is something that I need to address before I completely end the video, which is when it comes to Jiren's wish. I don't think first of all, in the anime it was never revealed what Jiren's wish was, but in the manga it kind of did. It sort of said that he wanted apparently in the manga it seemed like he wanted to wish back his master, which it is kind of fine, except in this version his master never died, except maybe of old age eventually, but he wasn't killed by by this evil entity or whatever. And instead I'm thinking of this. Remember in episode I think it was also in the same episode, but I think Jiren was asked what exactly do you want, and he says, "I want to know what lies beyond strength." Now, to me, I felt like maybe the anime was kind of gonna do something with that, except it turns out no, they did nothing with that. Another plotline that they introduced, just to just to drop it for nothing. Anyway, so continuing on, I feel like we could actually do something with that. Because remember when I said that Jiren was always born a prodigy, like he was always born with such a natural talent that he just became so much stronger than everyone else, right? I feel like eventually, even during his time with the Pride Troopers, Jiren would grow to be so goddamn strong that eventually he stopped relying on his other teammates and just said, "You know what, guys, just let me do this by himself." And he eventually, even the people who took him in and became friends with him, even he started to push them away because now, whereas before others were pushing Jiren away from them, now he's doing it to them. Like he's basically doing to them what was done to him when he was still young. And I feel like it would be kind of interesting if the reason why he wanted the wish was because he wanted to ask the dragon, like maybe what else is there for me other than strength? Because so far this is all I know. Like this guy again, he's got so much strong, so much stronger than everyone else that he's even surpassed his own god of destruction in terms of combat strength. It's insane. Like he wants to know, okay, what else is there? Like what else? And I don't know. It's just I know that's not much, but I feel like it would have been better than just wanting to wish someone back, because like why would you waste the Super Dragon Balls on that? I mean, even though we know that eventually Jiren's not gonna win, Goku's gonna win, and the universes will all be wished back, blah blah blah, whatever. Anyway, I feel like they could have done something with that. It doesn't have to be this, but I just feel like it would have been kind of better and a little bit more nuanced than just, someone I died, I want them to come back. And instead of just maybe going to Universe 7 and using the regular Dragon Balls in order for that to happen, or maybe even the Namekian Dragon Balls, I have to waste it on the Super Dragon Balls. Great, sure, whatever. Anyway, okay, that is gonna be it. God damn it! This is already at 40 minutes long. I was not intending for this video to be this long. I do apologize for that. But I had so much I want to say about Jiren's backstory. Uh, I hope you guys enjoyed it, and because I had fun making this video, even though I wasn't really doing much, it was just me talking. But I had fun making this, and if you guys want me to do more of these videos, please please support the video by liking, sharing, and if you want to show your support, if you genuinely want more of these, maybe subscribe to my channel, because if this video helps me get more subs, then it definitely will incentivize me to do more and more and more, because I have other ideas for how I would have written. I do have other shows that I kind of want to do, or other shows and characters that I have like a how I would have written planned for them. And if you guys subscribe to my channel because of this, it'll incentivize me to do those videos. But if you guys have something that you would like me to do a how I would have written on, then just leave them in the comment section. And also, if you do subscribe, please make sure to hit the bell icon. That way you will know whenever I post a new video. So with all of that said, if you watched all the way to the end, God bless you. Please consider doing so for the other videos that I have on my channel. You guys have been awesome. Take care of yourselves. Stay safe. And please join me on my next how I would have written. Bye.